I sit at the vanity, the cool morning light filtering through the sheer curtains, casting a soft glow over the room. My reflection stares back at me, a woman caught in the web of her own making. The scent of Richard's cologne lingers in the air, a reminder of the life I've chosen, the life I'm now betraying. The garden, once a symbol of neglect, now flourishes with life, much like the feelings that have unexpectedly bloomed within me for Ethan. Today, I avoid the garden, the place where our connection deepened, where the lines between right and wrong blurred into a haze of passion and guilt. Richard, oblivious to the storm brewing within our home, discusses business over breakfast, his voice a distant echo in my mind. I nod, smile, play the part of the supportive wife, but my thoughts are elsewhere, tangled with Ethan's touch, his gaze, the way he looked at me when he unveiled that portrait. Ethan, on the other hand, has become a shadow in the house. His usual brooding intensity has sharpened, his eyes avoiding mine, his presence a constant reminder of what we've done. The air between us is thick with unspoken words, the weight of our secret pressing down like the summer heat. I decide to take a walk, to clear my mind, to escape the confines of these walls that now feel like a cage. The path leads me to the garden, despite my intentions. There, amidst the vibrant colors and the scent of blooming flowers, I find Ethan, his back to me, his hands working on a new canvas. The tension in his shoulders speaks volumes. "Ethan," I call softly, my voice barely above a whisper, betraying the turmoil inside me. He turns, his eyes meeting mine, and for a moment, time stands still. The air crackles with the electricity of our forbidden connection. Ethan's gaze holds mine, a silent conversation passing between us. His eyes, usually so guarded, now reveal a storm of emotions. I can see the conflict, the desire, and the guilt mirrored in his expression, much like my own. "I didn't expect you here," he says, his voice low, almost a whisper, as if speaking any louder might shatter the fragile peace we found in this moment. I needed to clear my head," I reply, my voice trembling slightly. The garden, with its lush greenery and the soft hum of bees, feels like a world apart from the life I've been living. He nods, understanding more than I wish he did. "It's peaceful here, isn't it?" His question hangs in the air, an invitation to share more than just the tranquility of the garden. We stand there, the silence growing heavier, until I break it. "Your painting, it's beautiful." My eyes drift to the canvas, where strokes of color suggest the beginning of another portrait, perhaps of me, perhaps of someone else. "Thanks," he murmurs, turning back to his work, but not before I catch the flicker of something in his eyes, regret, maybe, or longing. I move closer, drawn by the art, by him. "Can I watch you work?" My request feels bold, a step over the line we've been tiptoeing around. He hesitates, then nods, setting up another easel beside his. "Here, you can try." His offer is unexpected, a bridge between our worlds. As I take the brush he hands me, our fingers brush, sending a familiar thrill up my arm. I start to paint, my strokes clumsy compared to his, but he guides my hand, his touch gentle yet firm. The intimacy of the act isn't lost on me, nor on him, I suspect. The sun climbs higher, casting long shadows across the garden. We paint in silence, the only sounds the rustle of leaves and the occasional bird call. It's a moment of connection, pure and simple, yet fraught with the complexity of our situation. "I should go," I finally say, the reality of our lives pressing in. "Richard will be home soon." Ethan's brush pauses mid-stroke. "Yes, of course." His voice is neutral, but his eyes tell a different story. As I leave, I feel his gaze on me, heavy with unspoken words. The garden, once a place of solace, now feels like a stage where we've played out a scene that could lead to our undoing. Walking back to the house, the weight of our secret feels heavier than ever. I know we're playing with fire, but the warmth of Ethan's presence, the thrill of our clandestine moments, they're becoming harder to resist. And as I step back into the role of Richard's wife, I wonder how long I can keep this facade intact, how long before the garden's beauty turns to ashes. The next few days pass in a blur of routine and pretense. Richard's presence in the house grows more substantial as he wraps up a big project, his attention now more on me, seeking the comfort of home after long hours at work. I play my part, the doting wife, but my heart isn't in it. It's still in the garden, with Ethan, where every brush stroke felt like a confession, every shared silence a promise. One evening, as Richard and I sit for dinner, the conversation turns to Ethan. He's been distant, Richard notes, his fork pausing midair. Is everything all right with him? I swallow hard, the food suddenly tasteless. I think he's just caught up in his art. You know how artists can be, I reply, my voice steady despite the storm inside. Richard nods, but his eyes linger on me, searching. Maybe we should plan something, get him out of that garden. He needs to socialize, meet people his age. The suggestion sends a jolt through me. The thought of Ethan mingling, perhaps finding someone else, ignites a jealousy I hadn't anticipated. Yes, perhaps, I manage, my mind racing with the implications. Later, alone in our bedroom, I can't shake the unease. The idea of Ethan moving on, of our secret garden becoming just another memory, feels like a betrayal in itself. I find myself at the window, looking out towards the garden, the moon casting a silver glow over the now shadowy blooms. The next day, I decide to confront Ethan, to understand where we stand. I find him in his room, surrounded by canvases, his space a stark contrast to the orderly opulence of the rest of the house. He looks up, surprise flickering across his face when he sees me. We need to talk, I say, my voice firm but not unkind. He sets down his brush, wiping his hands on a rag. About? About us. About what happened. My words hang in the air, heavy with implication. Ethan's expression hardens. There's nothing to talk about, Margot. It was a mistake. We both know that. His words sting, but I press on. Is that really how you feel? Because every time I see you, every time we're alone, it feels like there's more to say. He stands, moving closer, his presence overwhelming. What do you want me to say, Margot? That I feel something for you? That every time I look at you, I see the woman in my paintings, not my father's wife? The air between us thickens with tension. His admission, though whispered, feels like a shout in the quiet room. I step back, the reality of our situation crashing down. Ethan, we can't. We can't what? Pretend this isn't happening? His voice is raw, his eyes searching mine for something I'm not sure I can give. I don't know, I confess, my resolve crumbling. But we need to figure this out before it destroys us both. He nods, the fight seeming to drain out of him. I'll leave. Go back to my studio in the city. It's for the best. The thought of him leaving, of our connection severed, feels like a physical blow. Ethan, please, don't. He cuts me off, his hand gently touching my arm, a fleeting moment of contact that sends my heart racing. I need to. For both our sakes. As he turns away, I feel the weight of our unspoken desires, the pull of something forbidden yet undeniable. I leave his room, my steps heavy, the garden now a symbol of our shared secret, a place where passion and guilt intertwine, where the beauty of what could have been might just wither away. The days following my conversation with Ethan are a haze of confusion and longing. I find myself wandering through the house like a ghost, my mind replaying our last moments together, the touch of his hand, the intensity in his eyes. Richard, sensing my distraction, tries to engage me more, his concern growing palpable. One afternoon, Richard decides to host a garden party, an event meant to lift the spirits and perhaps, in his eyes, to bring Ethan out of his shell. The irony isn't lost on me as I oversee the preparations, the very garden where our secret flourished now set to be the stage for a public gathering. The day of the party arrives with a heavy sky, threatening rain. Guests begin to arrive, their laughter and chatter filling the air, a stark contrast to the turmoil within me. I play the hostess, greeting each guest with a practiced smile, my eyes scanning for Ethan, who has yet to make an appearance. As the party progresses, I feel a hand on my shoulder. Turning, I find Ethan standing there, his expression unreadable. You look beautiful, he says, his voice low, meant only for me. Thank you, I reply, my heart racing. I didn't think you'd come. I couldn't stay away, he admits, his gaze sweeping over the crowd before settling back on me. Not from this. The tension between us is palpable, even amidst the crowd. We move through the guests, our interactions polite, but our eyes keep meeting, each glance a silent conversation of what we've shared and what we're about to lose. Richard, ever the observant host, pulls Ethan into a conversation with some business associates, his arm around his son's shoulder in a display of familial pride. I watch from a distance, the sight of them together twisting something inside me. Ethan looks back at me, his eyes conveying a mix of duty and desire, a silent plea for understanding. As the party winds down, the first drops of rain begin to fall, scattering the guests. Ethan and I find ourselves alone under the gazebo, the only shelter from the sudden downpour. The rain beats down, creating a curtain of privacy around us. This is our goodbye, isn't it? I whisper, the reality of his departure looming like the storm overhead. It has to be, Ethan replies, his voice strained. For everyone's sake. The rain grows heavier, and with it, the urge to close the distance between us. I step closer, my hand reaching out, but he catches it, his grip firm yet gentle. Margot, if we do this, there's no turning back. His words are a warning, a reminder of the consequences, yet they ignite something reckless within me. I know, I whisper back, the rain drowning out the rest of the world, but what if I don't want to turn back? I whisper back, the rain drowning out the rest of the world. But what if I don't want to turn back? Ethan's eyes search mine, the intensity they're both thrilling and terrifying. Margot, this isn't just about us. It's about everything we stand to lose. The rain seems to echo the turmoil in my heart, each drop a reminder of the chaos we're about to unleash. I can't lose you, I confess, my voice barely audible over the storm. His hand tightens around mine, pulling me closer until there's no space left between us. And I can't lose you either, he murmurs, his breath warm against my cheek. The moment stretches, filled with the sound of rain and our heavy breathing. Then, as if the storm itself has decided our fate, Ethan's lips find mine in a kiss that's both desperate and tender. It's a kiss that speaks of longing, of the forbidden, of a connection that defies all logic and morality. We pull apart, breathless, the reality of what we've just done settling in. We have to be careful, he says, his voice thick with emotion. If anyone finds out. I know, I cut him off, my mind racing with the implications. But we can't ignore this, Ethan. Not anymore. The rain continues to pour, but under the gazebo, we're in our own world, a bubble where time and consequences seem distant. I'll leave tonight, he decides, his voice firm. I'll go back to the city, but not to forget you. To protect you. Tears mix with the rain on my cheeks. And us? There will always be an us, Margot. But it has to be different. We need to find a way to exist in the same world without tearing it apart. I nod, understanding the gravity of his words. When will I see you again? Soon, he promises, his thumb brushing away a tear. I'll find a way. As the rain begins to lighten, we step out from under the gazebo, the garden now a scene of aftermath, petals and leaves scattered across the ground. We walk back to the house, our hands brushing occasionally, each touch a silent vow. The party has ended, the guests gone, and Richard is nowhere in sight. Ethan gathers his things, his movements swift and silent. I watch him, my heart aching with the knowledge that this might be the last time I see him like this, in our shared secret space. At the door, he turns, his eyes locking with mine one last time. Remember, Margot, this isn't an end. It's just a different beginning. He leaves as Ethan steps out into the night, the door closing behind him feels like the final note of a symphony, leaving a silence that resonates with the emptiness in my heart. I stand there, watching through the window as his figure disappears into the darkness, the rain now a gentle patter, as if mourning his departure. The house feels different now, colder, despite the summer warmth. I wander back to our bedroom, where Richard is already asleep, his breathing steady and oblivious to the storm that has just passed through our lives. I sit on the edge of the bed, the weight of my choices heavy upon me. The garden, once a place of solace and secret desires, now stands as a testament to what was lost. In the days that follow, I throw myself into my role as Richard's wife, trying to fill the void Ethan's absence has left. I organize, I plan, I smile, but the garden remains untouched, a forbidden sanctuary that I can't bring myself to enter. Richard, noticing my avoidance, suggests we hire a gardener, but I refuse, claiming I need time to decide how to best preserve its beauty. One evening, as I'm sorting through some of Ethan's old sketches left behind, Richard finds me, his expression one of concern mixed with curiosity. "You've been distant, Margot. Is there something you need to tell me?" His voice is gentle, but there's an edge to it, a hint of suspicion. I look up, the sketches in my hand trembling slightly. I've just been thinking about Ethan. He left so suddenly, I manage, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Richard sits beside me, his hand covering mine, stopping the trembling. "He's an artist, Margot. They're unpredictable. But he'll come back when he's ready. He always does." I nod, but inside, I know it's different this time. Ethan's departure wasn't just about his art, it was about us, about the impossible situation we found ourselves in. I look at Richard, his face etched with lines of worry and love, and guilt washes over me. "I'm sorry if I've been distant. I'll try to be more present." He pulls me into an embrace, and I let myself sink into it, seeking comfort in the familiarity of his touch, yet feeling the absence of Ethan's intensity. Weeks turn into months, and life resumes its routine. The garden, once vibrant, now looks wild and untamed, much like my own emotions. I start visiting it again, not to tend to the plants, but to sit and reflect, to paint, something I hadn't done since Ethan left. Each stroke of the brush feels like a conversation with him, a way to keep him close without crossing the lines we've drawn. One crisp autumn day, as I'm painting, a letter arrives. It's from Ethan, his handwriting bold and familiar. My heart races as I open it. "Margot. I found a way to keep us connected without the world knowing. There's an art gallery opening in the city next month. I've included an invitation. Come alone. Yours, Ethan." The invitation feels like a lifeline, a bridge back to the part of me that's been missing. I decide to go, telling Richard it's an event for charity, a cause close to my heart. The night of the gallery opening, I dress with care, choosing something that feels like armor yet whispers of vulnerability. The gallery is buzzing with life, art lovers and critics mingling, but my eyes are searching for one face. And then, there he is, across the room, his gaze locking with mine. The world narrows to just us, the crowd fading into a blur. We don't speak, words aren't necessary. He leads me to a secluded part of the gallery where his latest works are displayed. Among them, a new painting catches my eye. It's me, but not as I am now, but as I was in the garden, vibrant and alive, our connection palpable even in oil and canvas. "This is how I see you," Ethan whispers, his voice thick with emotion. "This is how I'll always see you." We stand there, the painting a silent witness to our unspoken promises. "Ethan, what are we doing?" I ask, the weight of our situation pressing down. He turns to me, his eyes searching mine. "We're living, Margot. In our own way, in our own time. This," he gestures to the painting, "is our truth. We can't change what we feel, but we can choose how we live with it." The night ends with a kiss, not of passion but of understanding, a promise of something different, something sustainable. As I leave, the painting remains, a secret shared between us, a testament to a love that exists in the shadows, beautiful and forbidden, yet undeniably real. Back at home, I look at Richard, sleeping peacefully, and I realize that while my heart might belong to Ethan in ways I can't fully express, my life, my duty, and my love for Richard are part of who I am. The garden, now a place of reflection rather than action, symbolizes this duality, a place where I can be both the woman who loves and the woman who longs. And so, life continues, with its layers of love, guilt, and silent vows. Ethan and I find ways to exist in each other's orbits, our connection a silent melody in the symphony of our lives, a melody only we can hear, played out in stolen glances, shared art, and the quiet understanding that some loves are meant to be cherished in the shadows, not extinguished by them. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.